Yo, hi, I'm V, or Veti, and I'm a freelance video editor. And I worked on this video for Disrupt, called The Hacker That Lost Control Chatbots Part 1, which I titled just Chatbots in my work folder. If you haven't watched it, do it now. And I just wanted to give a bit of an overview and then dive a bit deeper into a couple of scenes in sort of a behind-the-scenes type of thing, and I'll reveal some Easter eggs and trivia at the end. Alright, so let's go. With Disrupt videos, we get a blank video with the music, voiceover, and notes already in place. That video has also been cut into separate scenes, and you then get to pick which scenes you want to work on. In my first listen through, I immediately had a couple of scenes that I definitely wanted to work on, and then later I ended up picking up a couple of other scenes that needed to be filled. Altogether, the workload for this project was 11 scenes with a runtime of 4 minutes and 40 seconds. This included a lot of full motion graphic scenes, including the outro. For the whole video, we had a couple of overarching rules. 1. Scenes in black and white with accent colors. 2. The main character has a certain look to follow, but the art style can be anything. And 3. The main character's PC graphics should be green. So following those, I went through and listened to my scenes a couple of times while building ideas in my head and writing down some notes. I used to make some really heavy notes, so almost like scripts for each scene, but I found myself, not really following them once I started working on those scenes. And so now I just try to make a clear guide in my head and build up from there through the working process. So my work process for basically all Disrupt videos is kind of the same. I basically make a rough base, which includes most of the stock footage I'm gonna use, most of the animation, most of the effects, but I'm trying to keep it light. And then I do a cleanup where I finish those visuals. And third, I do the sound effects, adding on top of everything. For this project, like most of my projects nowadays, my weapons of choice were After Effects for the visuals and Premiere Pro for the audio. With that done, let's look at a few scenes and dive into how they work.
Message.
My main character for a lot of these scenes is this little box. The main thought behind the design were to hit that harsh, retro-futuristic feeling while keeping it mostly readable for the viewer and making its visual language fit its in-universe purpose. Because the main character, Sig9, has made Sybil, the AI, basically fully autonomous, the purpose of the UI kinda changes. We can remove a lot of the visual elements we humans use, like visual buttons for closing or minimizing an application. The AI handles that. The screen's purpose is to monitor the actions and the process of the AI. The UI is just a visualization of the AI's decision making. But those options are still there when it's a window that the user might want to interact with, like the chat message type box, which instead of being a part of the messaging application, it's just a terminal to let the AI know what you want to type, as well as allowing you to see what the AI is typing. This all happens within its own pre-comp using shape and text layers, stock assets, and animation. The rest of the retro-futuristic look is achieved through layering grain and VHS effects on top of the pre-comp. The pre-comp is rotated and slapped with a deep glow, which is achieved by layering 2 glow effects, a CC lens that gives it more depth, and a wave warp to hit it with that screen refresh type effect. This is all pretty normal, but I do have a secret weapon that I use pretty much everywhere. I'm probably using it right now for this IRL footage. And that effect is a Gaussian blur on top of everything but the grain with a loose eye-shaped mask. This effect works on graphics as well as footage or pictures, etc., especially when it's used to create a depth of field effect for 3D layers. but overall it gives a really nice soft retro/cinematic feel. For the rest of the scene, there's a clean little text notification graphics and some simple glitch graphics utilizing stock assets and self-made assets. I use those a lot, pretty much everywhere. And these are used to give the feeling of the AI thinking, with fast cuts and big changes in text speed and size, which are a kind of replacement for shot size.
In just one click, Maddie has given Sig9 full access to his device. He can now read files, documents, contacts, email, passwords, even control his computer remotely. But for now,
This 30-second scene has 3 separate parts. There's a little typography intro, a victim's PC, and a montage which was part of the notes within the base video. A montage isn't anything special, with intermittent shots of people using devices, a close-up of a hacker typing on a keyboard, and this UI element. The idea here is to communicate a couple of things. First, that the botnet is affecting many different types of people and devices. Second, it's spreading fast because the list of devices that we see is moving pretty fast. And third, the hacker has green accents, which is a visual connection to the green UIs that we see. The victim's PC has a similar retro style as the rest of the UIs, but it's white and has more elements for human interaction in its UI design. This is to keep it more realistic within the rules of its universe and to make it stand out a bit more. It uses the same overlay and effects as hacking UIs, with the exception of the CC lens, as the shots are much closer and the lens just didn't really fit well. The presence of the hacker being the one in control is done by making the mouse green, and this is because, well, it's simple and it's effective, but also kinda because the mouse is literally how you would control the PC. In my opinion, the best part of this scene is the start, with its smooth animation and punchy typography work. The ring gives the drop a bit more weight, it adds a nice little visual, and works as a visual for, entering like through a keyhole, etc. It's just this Tropicolor glitch effect preset video, and I use these packs a lot, like I own all of them a lot, and it's just overlaid on top of the scaling PC. The curve on the PC scale is super simple, it's a hard ease out with a little bit of bounce back. The PC itself is just a single frame from a video where this 3D prop spins around, and just some glitchy graphics slapped onto it. That old package is then hit with a couple of displacement maps to make it move and tear, to really drive home that visual of it being hacked. And then that punchy typography comes in with the voiceover in 2 layers. The words are masked out, and as they appear, the whole layer is hit with a quick displacement map. Again, this reinforces that techie cyber attack visual. It gives more weight to those words without having to give them space in the voiceover. This is then pre-comped, and an eye blur, CC lens, and a chromatic aberration are added on top of it. Also, by the way, if you're like me and you hate the regular chromatic aberration effect in AA because it bulges and applies it more strongly to either the center or the edges, just add 2 of them and invert the fall off on one of them. That fixes it.
for him, it was all he needed to go solo. Because his chatbot wasn't constrained by the same safeguards as the rest of them. It gave his bot much more freedom to program itself and designed his own reward signal parameters. This allowed him to train his chatbot to mimic his programming skills and improve upon them by rewarding this behavior. He was creating an army of Sig9s, and he called his bot Sybil.
Okay, now for the meat, now for the cherry on top of this scene, the chess visuals. I chose chess to visualize the training and improvement of the AI for a couple of reasons. Well, one, AI is notoriously good at chess, and two, it's visually simple and, well, everyone knows what it is. And, of course, the grid pattern looks visually pretty cool. The base for this is a YouTube video of two AIs playing each other. I think specifically it was Stockfish14 and Chess.com's AI playing against each other, and then it was just about getting it to fit that retro look. Base footage, colorama on it to make it black and white, comp that, key out the black, add a tint to make the white greens, copy that 8 times, make a grid. As with the timing on each of the games, just so they aren't doing the exact same thing. All of those go in a comp, make it a 3D layer, close up, add rotation. Then comes a personal favorite of mine, CC ball action. Grid spacing to 1, look for a good size, and this gives it a more unique pixelated effect. But it also mutes the colors a bit, so hit it with a glow, add a wave warp for that screen refresh, and blur for the cinematic aspect. And after all that, it does look pretty cool. It fits nicely into that retro-futuristic feel, the pixelation looks unique. I think it's because they're balls, so they leave more space between them, unlike more pixel art style graphics. And also because the way CC ball action generates in these rough corners and shapes we give it, it kinda loses a lot of information in a way that works out pretty well for the style. And the last piece for this is the text that utilizes the fact that we have keyed out the black. First, we get a bit of code on the background behind those boards. This then leads to a fairly generic, high-energy burst appearance, with the stroked out text leading the movement to the center, in which the text then appears, accompanied by a glitchy displacement map effect. With both boards and text being 3D layers, it makes the text clip through the boards in some spots, hitting on that nice techy, glitchy kind of feeling. For the final little thing on this, the effect of the code spreading slightly from the text is achieved by just simply using an instance of the text, which has a glow on it, as a matte for the coding footage. There were a few little Easter eggs throughout the video. The biggest one was the version number for Sybil in the UI. This got unfortunately blurred or otherwise obscured a lot, but there were still some visible. And these were 030622, and this is the date of the data crash, which is an in-universe event in the Cyberpunk 2077 universe, in which an AI virus destroys the first net. I think it was pretty fitting. 090799, that's the release date of the Matrix movie. 250891, and that's the release date of Linux. The outro also has a special disrupt version number, as well as having the operation mode switch to outro and a goodbye instead of the welcome to the others have. For stuff that needs a bunch of text that isn't important for the story and can't be filled with just random techno babble, I like to insert references as little Easter eggs. On the victim's PC, we see a text file open. The text file is a part of the Wikipedia page for the game Citizen Sleeper. I wanted to put it in there because I really like the game, but also because hacking and AIs are part of the game's theme and gameplay. Then a bit later we see an open email, and this is being sent to edgerunners@mail.fu. Edgerunners being a reference to the Cyberpunk Edgerunners anime, and the content of the email is part of the Wikipedia page for Valhalla, which is a really nice cyberpunk bartender visual novel that I really love. And that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this little look behind the scenes on this project, and I hope you maybe got inspired to use something in your own projects. So, thanks for watching. Bye!